automatically potentially change? I don't know. It would potentially impact your zone that you're trying to establish.
Okay, now what would impact the zone?
If the downtown historic district boundaries ever changed, the way this resolution is crafted, it will potentially impact your zone that you're trying to establish now by this. So I see where you're going, like, let's keep it, the language separate and not tie it together so much.
Right.
So, okay. So the first whereas, it just says the downtown historic district is established by that resolution.
Okay, so let's just read it. That area in downtown Seward bordered on the south by Resurrection Bay, which covers all buildings to the bay. The bay is the boundary.
I think the amendment in section 1, rather than having...
Okay, so which is, down here, section 1?
At the second half of that sentence where it says, using the same boundaries as the downtown historic district.
Okay.
You could strike that portion of the sentence and then define in writing the boundaries you wish to have for this zone.
Okay, but isn't that cited in the first whereas?
No, that's not, no, that just says the downtown historic district is boundaries are those.
That was defined by resolution
Long time ago.
Yeah.
1988-011. That's, we can't change that wording.
No.
Right.
So
it's already in writing.
But in section 1,
Yeah.
rather than saying we're going to use those boundaries, you can amend that by striking out the second half of the sentence after the comma, and define your own.
Yeah. Could you, would it be possible in section 1 to say some, the reason I like using the same boundaries is because it doesn't look like we're trying to do something untoward. I was wondering if we could say something along the lines, using the same boundaries as the downtown historic district with the exception of the south boundary being the bay.
The water.
Right.
The water line.
And that way, so I guess what I'd like to do is tie it to what we've already done, so people may be less threatened by that.
Is this already tied to what we've already done? Because if this wording is related to what's already been established, why should we mess with it?
This is the time to either make it the same
Right.
or keep it separate.
Change it.
Essentially.
Why would we leave the first whereas the way it is when it begins with the south boundary being the bay and ends with the ferry terminal building, which is on the bay?
But
And then why are we down here at section 1? Are we replacing what's in whereas down in section 1?
I look at the whereases as justification for this resolution, and the first whereas talks about resolution 1988-011. And that wording refers to that resolution, not our current resolution.
So then, so when we get down to the sections,
We would define, yes, that's what I hear Brenda saying.
Okay, Brenda, is that what you're saying?
I am. So if you look at the boundary of the historic district, it's the downtown Seward bordered on the south by the bay, the north by Jefferson, the east by 6th, and the west by 3rd. Leave the ferry terminal out for now.
Under section 1.
Those are your boundaries. Then we don't have to change section 1.
Right.
Because those are saying, those are the same boundaries that you want.
Okay, so then, can we get rid of the ferry terminal building or not? No, because it's the resolution of 1988-0.
I don't even know where that building is.
It's more of a shelter.
Yeah.
Well, it's not, okay, well, the shelter that's there though is new. It probably was put in the Sea Life Center.
So it's up to you to decide.
What are the things that you tied up to?
The bylines?
Oh, more, yeah.
Pilings, yes, those are part of the ferry.
Okay.
But and I'm not sure if that also includes the old dock for the steamships and the railroad or not. I'm not sure. But the bay being our southern boundary covers all of these buildings.
Okay, so it's up to you.
Commissioner Benoit?
I'm just thinking, if this whereas is basically saying, Resolution 1988-011 says this,
Right,
I don't think we should change it because
I agree.
otherwise we're setting kind of like, I don't know if you call it precedent, but every time something disappears, we have to go back and change it because that's not there anymore. It just seems like this is just saying that the city council defined the district as blah, 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 based on this resolution, and it's just saying what that resolution says. I think we should just leave it.
Yeah.
As the previous resolution, and leaving it has nothing to do with our resolution, is that correct?
Which we would define section one. We'll define ours in section one.
When you approve this, you'll be adopting the same boundaries.
Right.
As what's written in the first whereas?
As to match the historic district, and yes.
Okay, so then I do believe we need to drop the ferry terminal.
We can't, because we didn't write that resolution.
No,
You can,
Commissioner Warren, please listen to the clerk again.
I have listened. Don't overpower me, which is what you have a tendency to do. What I'm saying is the first whereas is the original resolution.
Yeah.
So we leave that alone. Where we can define it is our resolution under section one.
Yes.
That's what we're talking about.
So if you wish to drop the ferry terminal building from your zone, we can make that adjustment in section one.
Right, that's exactly what I'm saying. That's our part of the resolution, of this resolution.
Okay.
This is done, we don't deal with that, but section one is ours, and that's where we'll define it.
That is correct.
And I
Thank you,
just,
Commissioner Warren, and I apologize for
It's
being
okay.
confused.
I just want to make it
We're all allowed.
And cutting you off.
We're all allowed, Joe.
Commissioner Benoit?
I just want to make a comment, so if we are potentially going to be making changes like down in section one or whatever, I feel a little uncomfortable with the fact that none of us really knows what this little building is, where it is, if it exists, if it's historic or anything else, so I don't think we should be making changes and kicking it out. We don't even know.
Well, the point being is that
Maybe it's historic and it's down there.
the bay will include it whether
Covers
it's there.
everything.
I agree with that.
Why did they point that out in the first place?
I don't
Who
know.
knows?
I don't think it's historic.
Yeah.
It's not 50 years old.
I'm
I mean,
gonna log in real quick and see if I can't find the
I just wonder why it was originally pointed out. There was probably a reason for that.
There may, in 1988, was there a building down there that is no longer there?
I don't know, but I remember getting on the ferry here, and it's more of a rain shelter we can line up to get on the ferry. It's,
And it's,
you can see it from Zudy's.
Yeah, if you're on Zudy's front
but
porch.
again,
I never knew what it was.
the bay is the boundary,
Right.
which covers every
All of it.
building.
So we're fine.
Yeah.
Whether it's historic or not, you're correct, the bay covers.
What Sue's saying, it makes sense. We correct the language under section
Yes,
one.
I understand now and I agree. Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Lemaster.
And my only other thing was, we're using this to justify our resolution, and I don't want us to be messing with that, because this is the reason we're doing step two.
So in the sections, Madam Clerk, this is what our resolution will be based on. This resolution where we have the 1988-011, we're referring to for information only, and then down in section 1, 2, 3, 4, that's where we make our changes, which become our resolution.
So, if you wish to change any language in this resolution, with the exception, you really can't change the first whereas. That's an established fact.
Right.
Everything else, if you want to modify the language, you can make a motion to amend. And then,
Okay, now wait, are you saying all the other whereases we can make a motion and change?
Yeah, if you
But
want.
the- but the
Yeah.
first whereas has to be addressed in section 1?
no. You cannot change the language in the first whereas. You can strike it if you wish, but you can't change the language because that's an established resolution
Okay,
on the books.
all right. But what, don't the other whereases Aren't they included in that 1988-011?
No, ma'am, that is background information for how you got to this point of trying to define a zone.
The only thing that I would say, Cheryl, is in the quotes in the first whereas, in the quotes, that's exact language out of that original resolution, and that's what we can't mess with. We
Okay,
can't,
but that's where we amend in section 1.
yes.
Okay.
But the other whereases, we can change all that because there's nothing in quotes, there's nothing defined anywhere else. It's just because that has already been written.
All right.
Does that make sense?
Yes, thank
There
you.
go.
Thank you, Commissioner Ward. Okay,
So that's the only one we can't mess with.
Okay, so in the second whereas, it says, "The Historic Preservation Commission desires to use those same boundaries to establish a downtown historic business district," which should read just Historic Business District. And you do have the HBD in parentheses, but we just strike the downtown. However, if these same boundaries are referring to the first whereas, then we do need to drop the ferry terminal building.
And you can make that motion
So,
to amend, if that's your wish.
well,
I move that we amend, what is it, the second whereas? Would that be appropriate? Second whereas?
because it's saying those same boundaries.
We need to change that
Which is
language.
referring to the 1988-011.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So instead of those saying maybe similar, just change
Similar,
it to
that would be the, yeah.
Amended boundaries,
Those similar boundaries.
amended boundaries.
Is there a second?
Okay, so now we can officially, so do we want similar amended, similar? We can
Those
decide.
amended boundaries.
But amended means that we
Yeah.
voted on something, and similar just means we're using an
Most of it.
adjective
Yeah.
to describe. Yeah, I prefer to just do that.
So that it will read, "The Historic Preservation Commission desires to use similar boundaries to establish a downtown historic business district zone."
Perfect.
Okay.
Do we need to vote?
Yes, ma'am. Voting on that amendment, Ward,
Yes.
Benoit,
Yes.
Yes.
Lemaster, excuse me, Chair Sees.
Yes.
That amendment
Perfect.
is approved. Your main motion is back on the floor.
Which is, so,
Sophia and vote, I don't know what it means. Okay, next whereas. The purpose of establishing the historic business district, oh, by the way, the second whereas you need to drop to establish a downtown historic business district, because we've just made it the historic business district.
wait,
Because on 6th Avenue, it's mostly residential. But anyway, we have changed from downtown historic, I mean, you see, you have it in your parens, Madam Clerk, HBD. So downtown should be dropped.
Would you like to make a motion to amend?
I make a motion to amend the change of the second whereas from to establish a downtown historic business district to a historic business district, dropping downtown.
And that would affect the title as well, so
Oh,
I'll
good.
include that.
okay.
We vote on that, correct? Commissioner Benoit?
I'm wondering, like, it seems like there's two choices. Either take that out, so that it goes with HBD, or change HBD to DHBD,
No.
or just accept it like it is. But if we change and take downtown out, it seems like we have downtown historic business district all over the place, in all these documents describing what we're doing, and now we're gonna change that name. That makes me feel
We're not changing the name.
uncomfortable.
But we can do that, that's all
already
part
changed the
of
name.
what,
We already changed it in our land use table as historic business district, not downtown. If you leave downtown in there, people see 4th Avenue, Adams to Washington as the downtown district, and we don't want that. We want it to include the boundary we already voted on,
Right.
which is 6th to 3rd, Bay to Jefferson.
and I think once we actually have agreement on the actual name, then we'll try and catch everything we've done. I mean, we have like 3 different names, and we haven't been very consistent.
Everything's draft.
Right, everything's a draft. So if we agree that we want it to be the historic business district, and we agree on that, then that's what we will call it, and we'll change everything from this point on, and hopefully we catch them.
Okay, so right now, it's not consistently
Right.
downtown historic district every place else.
Right.
It's inconsistent
Yes.
at some places and not other places.
At a previous meeting, we actually changed it to the historic business district.
Sorry, just don't remember that.
But, whatever we call it, we have to be consistent, and
I agree.
if we want it to be the
And I think
historic
that-
business district, I'm fine with that.
In the planning and land use tables, we've already titled it the historic business district.
Okay.
But you haven't taken that action as a body in a meeting.
Right.
It's in a work session, so it's a suggestion, it's your working title right now. I just want to be clear.
Mhm, yeah, that's great.
It's not something you voted on yet, so.
Okay, so can we vote on it this time, on this whereas, or do
You
we
have-
just work on all 3 whereases?
Oh, you have an amendment on the floor to change the title and the second whereas to drop the word downtown. And I'll just add wherever else. Just to
Where
be-
else?
Oh, that's
Perfect.
So it'd be
perfect.
the first section as well.
Perfect.
So we'll strike downtown. So voting on the amendment to strike the word downtown before the historic, now it's just going to be historic business district. Then what?
Well, I think Art had a comment.
No, I support, sure, logic, I think it's perfect logic. So I nominate for
Well, no, there's a motion on the floor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you can second it.
second it. Yeah, makes good sense.
Thank you, Commissioner Lemaster.
So, back to the vote?
Ready to vote? Okay. So voting on the amendment to strike the word downtown. Benoit,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
Lemaster,
Yes.
and Chair Sees.
Yes.
That amendment is approved. Now your main motion is back on the floor as amended. The whole resolution is back on the floor.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. So on the 3rd whereas the purpose of establishing the historic business district zone is to support historic preservation efforts by maintaining the integrity of historic properties, and then we move on. I like that. Does anybody have any comments for change?
Perfect as it is.
Agreed. Do we vote on this whereas?
No, ma'am.
No, only the ones we
Change.
edit. All right,
Correct.
okay, so on the 4th whereas preserving the historic integrity of properties in the strike downtown historic
Not in this
business
case.
district, pardon me?
Not in this case.
Okay, now
You're
why?
referring to this, the downtown historic district, not your zone, in this exact case.
Right.
Correct. Okay.
Why?
It's not referring to the zone.
It's just all the properties
It's the
in that
downtown
area.
district, historic.
So I just want to clarify my mind, because I don't think I
Yeah.
got it before. So the downtown, okay, so the downtown historic district is what I think I was mixing up with before, which is basically all the references in like our 2017 historic preservation plan, and how we
Yeah.
refer to the downtown historic district has always been used with that term. The historic business district is the future
Yes.
place that we're trying to come up with
Of a zone
recommendations
that will-
for.
yes.
Okay, so we have
I'm
to
not
just keep those
understanding.
separately. I get it.
I'm not understanding why this whereas cannot be edited as the others were. I don't understand, forgive me, I don't understand why we
Okay.
can't have the same wording as we do in the whereases above.
Okay, so in this case, this whereas is referring back, say, up to the first whereas.
The 1988-01 run? Okay,
That's what
all
it
right.
is. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
I know, it gets complicated.
Well, in that
You see,
case-
it's a learning experience.
In that case, the first whereas is referring to the downtown historic district, which was how it was previously referred to. So why would we take downtown out of that?
We're not.
Okay.
We didn't,
On the fourth,
I crossed it out otherwise, so.
We're not,
Okay,
yeah.
good.
no,
Gotcha.
we're keeping consistent.
In the second whereas, there is, where it says downtown historic business district, the word downtown is struck.
Right.
but.
Because that's when we changed
Gotcha.
the name.
But where it
So-
says, yeah,
Got
May
it?
I ask this? When a novice is looking at this
yeah.
resolution, how do they know that the fourth whereas is contingent on the first whereas, but the second and the third whereases are not?
In if you go back to the title of the document, you're saying, we're going to use the boundaries established, basically in 1988, of the downtown historic district
I thought we were changing that as well.
to establish a historic business district
Right.
zone.
Right, a
That's
zone.
the last word in it, in the title, so
Okay,
you're.
so in the title, we're making that change.
Yeah, because you already have the downtown historic district established for decades. Now you're going to use the same boundaries and create a zone.
So it's like a historical progression.
Yeah.
So,
It's,
the downtown,
I'm agreeing, I just.
Yeah, no,
understand
I think it's
How you know the fourth whereas is related to the first whereas.
Right.
Commissioner Benoit.
And I think that since we're all sitting here being confused, and now we finally get it, maybe what we should do is in the second whereas, we should say something to help clarify this, like, the Historic Preservation Commission decides to use similar boundaries to establish a new historic business
That's a good idea.
district zone for the purpose of providing recommendations for historic preservation within the downtown historic district, or whatever.
would you like?
Just like someone to clarify the two
Yeah,
things
Would you like to
together.
make that
Do that
motion
slower.
to amend?
No, I'm not sure if I
Just
said it
Just adding
correctly,
the word
but
new would help,
Yeah,
I think.
okay.
So,
let's keep it real
let's
simple.
just,
Yes,
yeah,
please.
let's keep it simple, but try to figure out a way to make this more clear.
I think it is clear. Whereas the Historic Preservation Commission desires to use those similar boundaries, similar related to the 1988-011, to establish a historic business district zone in cooperation with the Community Development Department and Planning and Zoning Commission.
We want the word new in it.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, where's new?
so.
Establish a new
Historic
historic
Preservation.
business district zone.
Okay, so that's after, okay.
Take a motion.
A new,
Yeah.
so, okay, just a sec here, let me read it. Whereas the Historic Preservation Commission desires to use those similar boundaries to establish a new historic business district zone in cooperation with da-da-da-da-da.
So make the motion.
I'll make
Okay,
that motion.
wait. Can I,
No, but we have to have a motion on the floor in order to be doing what we're doing.
Yes.
See, we're discussing it before we have a motion. So make the motion.
I did.
I second.
Thank you.
Motion is now on the floor.
Commissioner Master and Commissioner Ward.
Now it's on the floor.
okay, so I have a potential modification.
Sure.
So how about saying something like, whereas the Historic Preservation Commission desires to use similar boundaries to establish a new historic business district HBD zone, comma, for the purpose of providing guidance for historic, for the purpose of providing guidance for historic properties, comma, in cooperation, blah, blah, blah.
And I think that's a good, but I think that should be put in number 3.
Or create a new whereas altogether.
Yeah, I think, because that's the,
It makes this too wordy.
Just so I-
that's what I say.
For the purpose of providing.
Okay, yeah, I guess you could do another whereas saying, this new business district is for the purpose of, let's see,
So it's,
so you could say, whereas the new historic business district, parentheses, HBD
Well,
zone, is for the purpose of providing guidance for historic properties.
could you put that in the third whereas? Could we just edit
Can
that?
we
Yeah.
hold that for a minute?
Yeah, that's
And
what
come
I-
back to that as a separate amendment?
I think so.
Please? Is that standalone?
I think it might be even a
Too
standalone,
much as a
Okay.
secondary.
but it might be a
amendment.
standalone, because that's the
And
whole
not
purpose
just
of
guidance,
it.
like guidance for restoring or protecting
Yep.
historic buildings.
Okay, so we're back to the original motion, which was to
Yeah.
change and put a new,
That's really good.
put new in.
So the motion on the floor, yes, is to add in the second whereas, to establish a new historic business district zone. So we're adding the word new,
Okay, so let's vote on that and then move on to your,
Okay,
okay? Voting
that all
on
right?
that amendment to add the word new. Benoit,
yes.
Lemaster,
Yes.
Ward,
yes.
and Chair sees.
Yes.
Great,
Perfect.
that amendment is approved. And now,
All right, so in this third whereas, Commissioner Benoit, could we, edit this to reflect what you're desiring to clarify?
Let me see.
And I think it could go there, or I'm happy for it to stand alone, so we have a double reason
I
for
think it
doing it.
actually could fit in there because it looks like it is, let's see.
Looks like it's
So,
part of what you're
whereas
saying.
the
Yeah,
purpose
that's
of
exactly right.
establishing the new HPD zone is to support,
historic preservation.
is to provide guidance to support historic preservation efforts
Is to,
by maintaining the integrity of historic properties.
Okay.
could we do to provide guidelines and support?
Let's see,
Well, or you could just, to support historic preservation efforts by maintaining the integrity of historic properties and providing guidelines. Clean that up a little bit, that's a little vague.
Well, it moves down to the next whereas.
But,
So what I'm suggesting is, whereas the purpose of establishing the historic business district zone is to provide
Guidelines.
guidelines and support for historic preservation efforts by maintaining the integrity of the historic properties.
I like that.
or how about, whereas the purpose of establishing the new HPD zone is to support historic preservation efforts by providing guidelines for maintaining the integrity of historic properties.
Say that again?
Sure,
So
it's a
I-
little cleaner.
I think so too.
I just said the purpose of establishing the new HPD zone is to support historic preservation efforts by, and then I just inserted, providing guidelines for maintaining the integrity of historic properties.
Okay,
Either one of
I'm
those
gonna
is
read
fine.
mine now.
Go ahead.
Whereas the purpose of establishing the historic business district zone is to provide guidelines and support for historic preservation efforts by maintaining the integrity of the historic properties. Can you read yours now?
Let's see, let me think about yours again.
Either one
Say
of them.
yours one more time.
All right. Whereas the purpose of establishing the historic business district zone is to provide guidelines and support for historic preservation efforts by maintaining the integrity of historic properties.
Is the part about by providing support, guidelines and support by maintaining the integrity of historic properties doesn't make sense to me. We're providing guidelines and support, but we're doing that with the document, not by maintaining the integrity of,
It's
those
for
two
the
things are
preservation
disconnected.
efforts. It's for the preservation efforts
There's,
of maintaining the integrity of the historic properties.
something is not computing in this sentence like that.
Well, it's moving on to the next whereas.
So our goal is to, we want to establish this new zone. And the goal is to support historic preservation efforts.
The purpose of establishing the zone is to support historic preservation
And we're
efforts.
going to do that by providing guidelines, standards and guidelines, right? That's what our other document is called, or just guidelines?
I just suggested, I think Commissioner Benoit is stuck. Let me offer this and see if it helps resolve.
Or to maintain the
To-
integrity.
Exactly. For maintaining or to maintain. Either if you switch out that word by maintaining.
Yeah, I think that
It will take that
works.
other meaning.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a big difference.
Yeah, it does, because what you're doing is you're providing all this for maintaining or.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So, okay, somebody read this to me,
So,
please.
So what I have for Chair Cease's suggestion would be the purpose of establishing the HPV zone is to provide guidelines and support for historic preservations for maintaining the integrity of historic properties.
Changing that makes a big
Because
difference.
your purpose is to maintain the integrity, but you're not doing the maintenance.
We're providing support and guidelines.
Exactly.
And I would add, for establishing the new zone, so it ties
Oh, the new.
to what.
Are you amenable to that, Chair Seats?
Yeah, that,
Okay.
and it's not amendable to me, it's amendable to all.
Well, I don't actually have an amendment on the floor yet, so,
Let's do it, Catherine.
but,
I move that we
okay.
change the language on the third whereas to,
Whereas the purpose of establishing the new historic business district zone is to provide guidelines and support for historic preservation efforts by maintaining the integrity of historic properties. And then we move to the next
Or
whereas.
to maintain.
To maintain would be really great.
all right,
To maintain,
Before maintaining.
efforts to maintain.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yes. Are we happy with that?
All right, so now, okay, let's read it. Whereas the purpose of establishing the new historic business district zone is to provide guidelines and support for historic preservation efforts to maintain the integrity of historic properties.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you.
so you have a motion, a second, and new wording.
That's
We're good.
Now, do we vote?
Yep.
Yes. Third whereas. Let me just document that.
All right.
Okay, voting on that amendment in the third whereas. Lemaster,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes,
Benoit.
Yep.
And Chair Seats.
Yes,
That amendment is approved.
thank you.
Like a miracle.
Good stuff.
All right, moving down to the third whereas, is there anything, what I crossed off was the downtown and changed it to historic business district.
You mean the fourth whereas?
Yes,
In the historic business district rather than downtown historic district.
the original motion did that everywhere.
Not in this case.
Not in this case?
Yeah, no, but I see what she's going for here. And it makes sense. So in this case, it would perhaps be to strike downtown and add business after historic.
Yeah,
yes. So it would read, whereas
HBD.
preserving the historic integrity of properties in the historic business district directly translates into heritage tourism, which is a proven and viable economic revenue source.
yes.
And I would suggest right after you put historic business district, you put parentheses HBD right after, so it's really clear exactly what we're talking about. Which is above.
HPD,
Really, since we defined historic business district as HBD, we should just use HBD after that and not keep spelling it out.
And that, and.
Well, for
that's
other people though,
absolutely
looking
fine.
at the resolution, it does need to be spelled out.
you're
But I
really
agree
only
with
supposed to
putting
use it once.
HBD in parentheses after it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it will read,
Is that your amendment?
so it will read, whereas preserving the historic integrity of properties in the historic business district, parentheses HBD, directly translates into heritage tourism, which is a proven and viable economic revenue source.
I move we amend this whereas to that language.
I'll second that.
Yes.
Voting on that amendment. Lemaster.
Yes.
Benoit.
Yes.
Ward. Yes. Chair Sees.
Yes.
That amendment is approved.
You don't even have to say anything, you just look at it and go, yes.
We eventually get there with all the parts we need, but that's not in the right order.
You're doing good work here, so I would keep going.
So now, in section 1, we're going to define
Yes,
our actual boundaries, correct?
what we want.
South to the bay. So everything that's up here above, okay. The historic business district So what are we doing here?
Zone.
Cover, zone. That area, okay, so I'm just gonna read what I think, but I don't know it ties in smoothly with section 1. Okay, so, defining the historic business district as that area in downtown Seward bordered on the south by Resurrection Bay, on the north by Jefferson Street, on the east by 6th Avenue, and on the west by 3rd Avenue, period.
Okay.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes, Commissioner Benoit.
Can we just say, the Historic Preservation Commission hereby approves the establishment of a downtown historic district, business district, HBD zone, using the same boundaries as the downtown historic district,
No,
minus the ferry terminal building.
it's much smoother the way I said it, I believe.
I think it would be better
And we-
to just define it.
Okay.
And get rid of downtown historic business,
Yeah.
no downtown. So let me read this again.
Yeah.
The Historic Preservation Commission hereby approves the establishment of the Historic Business District, HBD zone, using boundaries as defined by that area in downtown Seward, bordered on the south by Resurrection Bay, on the north by Jefferson Street, on the east by 6th Avenue, and on the west by 3rd Avenue, period.
Got it.
Okay.
And that is an amendment offered by Chair Cease. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Okay. And, voting on, any more discussion? Voting on that amendment to change section 1, Benoit
Yes.
and Lemaster,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
and Chair Cease.
Yes,
That amendment is approved.
for the record, once these amendments are approved, or just before, as you're taking a vote, should we be reading these as we change them? To read, the edit in full?
Well, you will be provided with the final.
You'll update it,
document.
yeah.
All right,
But when you are all done making amendments to this, I would like to revisit the title. I might have one more suggestion.
Okay.
All right.
To clean up the title.
all right.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. All right, moving on to section 2. This resolution will be provided to the Community Development Department and Planning and Zoning Commission. That's fine with me.
Yep. Whatever the process is.
Do we vote on this?
Nope.
We're not changing.
Section 3. This resolution will be brought to the city council for consideration and approval.
I don't know the timing of this. Is
Well,
the
just-
only thing I'm not sure about. Like, I imagine, and I left it open-ended there because I imagine community development and planning and zoning will
We're going to look at it.
They're going to work.
At this
We
point,
want to
they'll-
submit it to them to look at. We want to make sure
Yeah,
that
but-
we're doing the right steps.
Yeah.
But I don't understand why we would do a date here. It looks to me like this resolution will be brought to the city council for consideration and approval. And then it says this resolution is effective upon adoption, which has to be approved by...
No.
No?
No, you approve this. When you
Okay.
approve it today, you approve it, and it's effective for this
So
commission.
then,
For this
what are you
commission.
saying about a date? You're saying we insert a date in
No.
section 3?
I'm just saying, I think this ultimately will have to go to council.
Well,
but
yes.
I don't want to be premature and bring it to them now before.
Oh, yeah, no.
Okay, so brought to,
So that's
okay,
why
how
I
about...
didn't
brought-
say immediately.
Okay, how about brought to the community, except that we say this up here in
Yeah.
section 2.
Yeah,
So
we
why
can
don't we...
word immediately after.
Okay, so let's see, this resolution will be brought to the city council following or after, I don't know that,
Yeah,
we don't have to have approval from P and Z or community development. We just want to be polite in following
Right.
respective steps
Right.
before it goes to council. So this resolution will be brought to the city council following, how do we say that? Because it's up in section 2.
I would recommend not changing
Yeah.
section 3, but go into section 2 if you wish and add in the word immediately at the end of the sentence.
Okay, so this resolution, I'm in 2. This resolution will be provided to the Community Development Department and Planning and Zoning Commission, followed by, or going to, afterward, provided to the city council and get rid of section 3.
I don't even know why we need to change any of it, except add "the" in front of the city council.
Well, Madam Clerk, I wants to make sure that, you know, we're in,
I mean, I drafted it this way, and I was trying to leave it open-ended for the city council part.
Yeah,
and see, section
Because
2.
we just don't know how it's gonna play out.
Right,
timing.
but in section 2, we define that we're first going to the
Right.
community development, planning and zoning, or actually vice versa.
That's the
Planning and
step.
zoning and community development.
Oh, maybe first.
Yes,
Then
planning and
yes.
zoning
No, I
first.
mean, maybe we say first.
Oh, this resolution first, oh,
Will
yes.
first be provided to.
Oh, yes, thank you, Madam Clerk, that sounds really good to me. This resolution will first
Yeah.
be provided to the, and it should be P and Z, and then community development.
One and the same.
Because P and Z approves or denies before community development, and it ultimately has to be approved by city council. But
Community
first it should,
development doesn't approve it.
no, I know planning and zoning does.
Right.
So, and planning and zoning's gonna hear it, and then the community development people are recording it. So I see P and Z and then community development.
Okay, well, or we can take out community development, I just think it.
no, I
Oh, no,
think,
no, no, I'm not saying, I'm not saying,
reverse the
that's
order.
right,
Reverse the order.
community
Okay.
development
Gotcha.
after P and Z, that's all I'm saying.
We'll reverse the order.
Just reverse the order.
Okay, so
So,
is that
this-
amendment you wish to?
So, okay, so this is how it should be.
I move that we amend section 2 of this resolution.
To read, this resolution will first be provided to planning and zoning, followed by community development department.
Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Commissioner Ward, Commissioner Benoit, and Commissioner Lemaster.
All right,
Okay,
that
voting on
sounds good to me, a vote?
Resolution to update section 2, Lemaster,
Yes.
Benoit,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
and Chair Cease.
Yes,
That amendment is approved.
And section 3, we are going to update that to add the.
And I'll take that as a housekeeping
Okay.
update, and so you don't have to do a motion.
Do a
for that.
motion.
great, thank you. And then 4 is self-explanatory. This resolution is effective upon adoption.
And then the date will be changed to the 28th of January.
Yes, 28th of January. Yep. So that is the second resolution, and you've included the other, oh, sorry, Madam
So
Clerk?
can we look at the title and?
Oh, yes.
We'll have to vote on the main motion of the whole resolution.
Okay,
So resolution, utilizing similar boundaries
okay. Of the historic business district.
to the historic business district to establish a new historic business district zone.
Right.
Okay, so,
Could-
I make a motion.
Just read that again. for
So
me.
I'm going to.
Okay.
A resolution of the Seward Historic Preservation Commission to the City of Seward, Alaska, utilizing the similar boundaries of the historic business district to establish a new historic business district zone.
No.
No, I
Okay,
don't agree.
all right? What do we want to do?
It should have downtown.
Right, the first one is called the Downtown Historic District to establish a new historic business district.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
yes.
Okay? I just
So let
wanted-
me read that again.
Yeah,
A resolution of the Seward Historic Preservation Commission to the City of Seward, Alaska, utilizing similar boundaries of the Downtown Historic District to establish a new Historic Business District, parens HBD zone.
Yes.
Sounds good, that sounds perfect. Commissioner Benoit?
You changed the word in the first, let's see, of to something else, and I'm not sure if that was correct.
Utilizing similar boundaries.
Let's see, a resolution of the Seward Historic Preservation Commission of the city of Seward.
Yeah, I think she
and it
just,
said
she
something
said
else.
to the city of Seward.
Yeah.
So it was just a yeah. I didn't take that as part of the amendment, because I think it was just a oversight. A boo-boo.
Okay.
So it's gonna read, a resolution of the Seward Historic Preservation Commission of the City of Seward, Alaska, utilizing similar boundaries of the Downtown Historic District to establish a new Historic Business District, parens HBD zone.
Yes? Happy? Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Benoit.
Okay, so just 2 more votes. Voting on the amendment to update the title, Benoit,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
Lemaster,
Yes.
Chair Cease.
Yes.
That amendment is approved, and back on the floor now is the whole
Whole
resolution.
thing.
Unless there are any other amendments to be made, your whole resolution is back as amended. So this would be your final vote to approve the whole
The
thing.
whole thing. Will you read it back to us, what you have?
Well, that's the whole thing. She's
Oh.
gonna have to read. No, I make a motion.
Sorry.
I make a motion
Your
that,
motion's on the floor.
okay, motion's on the floor, so
Okay.
now what do we do? Our discussion's done, we like what we've done, so now
Voting
can we vote,
on-
Madam
I
Clerk?
make a motion that we vote to accept this resolution as
Okay.
amended in the previous discussion.
Okay. That's.
And I second.
Got it, perfect. All right, voting on the approval of Resolution 2022-002 as amended. Benoit,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
Lemaster,
Yes.
Chair Cease.
Yes.
That resolution is approved.
Yay. And I would like to say thank you, because we had a base to work with. That was nice.
Yes, thank
It was
you,
a
Madam
nice,
Clerk.
it was a nice draft.
You're welcome. I plagiarized a little bit off.
It was a nice draft.
Okay, then we move on to the work session packet. Now, I would like to say, Commissioner Benoit, we're on your timeline,
Madam
so.
Chair Cease, we're still in the special meeting.
Oh, sorry. So, with that, we are going to adjourn the special meeting. Oh, excuse me, at 3:45 PM.
Okay.
2:45.
Can we call for citizen
2:45,
comments?
I'm sorry.
Just to get it on the record.
What are we doing?
Call for citizen comments to get it
Oh,
on
I'm
the
sorry,
record.
do we have any citizen comments?
No.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Thank you.
We are adjourned at 2:45 PM.
Okay. Thank you.
No, thank you all.
Yeah.
So
Okay, now,
I have a class at 4 o'clock and I walk
okay,
down.
4 o'clock.
Okay, Madam Chair, we are ready.
This is the Historic Preservation Commission work session of January 28, 2022. All right, so hopefully Art and, Commissioner Lemaster and Commissioner Benoit also brought their original little handout for the City of Seward Downtown Historic District Design Standards and Guidelines. You both did electronic submissions, which is awesome. But we're going to go through this one, and when we come to your chapters that you've edited, we're gonna go by what you've done compared to what's in here,
Compared to what's in what?
in this. This is the whole thing.
That's
So we need
original.
one, yeah, we need one of these that has all of the edits.
That's
You
what we
understand?
have. That's what we have.
Well, no, you have, well, do you?
No, because we only have edits.
No,
for
you only
us.
have your two electronic submissions. You don't have, you
Besides
don't
the
have
fact,
Donna Walker's, you don't have Commissioner Ward's, and you don't have mine.
and besides
You
the
might-
fact that this document didn't have all my edits from the last version that was done.
I guarantee you 100%, the document for this work session has everything that you submitted from last September, or a year ago September.
But in December, when I got this to edit, it didn't have all of my edits.
Today, it does.
Okay.
And I will
We'll go
guarantee
through it.
that.
We'll go
because
through
I
it.
spent hours going through all the documentation, and I guarantee you, this work session packet that has your, and Commissioner Lemaster's, has all of your original edits. I guarantee you.
Okay,
We'll go
because the packet that I got, and I submitted edits, and I got this packet, all my edits are not in there. I have notes for all the missing edits.
Are you talking about this, that Madam Clerk did, this thing right here?
I'm talking about, yeah, what we got back with our edits.
Well, let's
I
go
have
through it.
edits
If you've got edits, let's go through it.
Can I have a recess, please? I need to run upstairs and get my notebook.
We are having a recess at 3:40.
Okay.
Thank you.
I don't have a copy.
We are resuming the work session. Thank you. Of January 28th, 2022 at 2:50 PM. Thank you. All right. So, Commissioner Benoit. Commissioner Walker, Commissioner Ward, and Commissioner Cease all use this manually. Unlike you, Commissioner Benoit, and Commissioner Lemaster, we did not submit electronic edits, okay? So what I'm saying is, we need to take one of these that shows all of our edits, and that gets submitted to the edit company.
Yeah, or whatever we decide to do.
You understand? And we will, as we come to your chapter and we come to Commissioner Lemaster's chapter, we will look at your submissions. Does that make sense?
Kind of, but not totally,
But pardon me?
but not totally.
Okay. Can you,
Maybe I can clarify a little bit. Originally, the original committee was Tongi Lebrec, Iris Darling, and myself. Tongi, Iris, her term ended, and Tongi went on to the walking tour summit. So I was a committee of one. So at that point, I had a very draft document that had some interesting programming in the document itself. So I asked Mary Ann, was this prior to you being on the commission, or?
no, you guys
Okay.
came on at the same time.
Right, prior to Mary Ann, I gave it to Mary Ann, and you took it over to somebody at Avtech, and were trying to undo some of the programming that was built into the
Right.
document.
And did a lot of edits too.
And then you edit it, and that was, I believe, the copy that you're holding, because then she gave it back to me, and then I have passed it along. So you have already edited it once before, and are those the edits that you're talking about?
I have no idea if the edits that I did are in that document, because I'm not sure which I keep getting different versions of that without all my edits, so what you actually have in your hand, I have no idea.
Right. Well, the point being is that I think what we're gonna do, and I think your solution is the best, Cheryl, is we're just gonna go through each of the documents and try and give us as much as you can. If there's something missing, you're the only person that's gonna know that.
Okay, so obviously, we do not have enough time to complete this today, so another work session is going to be called in order to do this. So, this is what we're utilizing. Your chapters were number 4, and then the appendix.
Right?
Okay, and Commissioner Lemaster's was 3 and 8. So, we're gonna go through this page by page, and when we come to your chapters, Commissioner Minois, and your chapters, Commissioner Lemaster, what we're going to do is go by the submissions that you submitted to the clerk for this meeting, and we're going to do it alongside this, so that the goal is to have one of these have all the edits, so we can submit it to whomever it's going to have a final edited version.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Madam Clerk?
all versions that are not today's work session packet.
This packet.
Today's, specifically, it's dated on the bottom, January 21st version.
So this is the most current
This
version.
is the most current. So,
And this is the total thing, so it's not just Lemasters and Mary
I thought
Ann?
you picked it up last week at the dispatch.
I have,
See, it wouldn't have ours in it because we don't know.
But if there was any other does it have theirs in it?
I think so.
No,
I read something last week.
is that this?
We all have to agree on these edits.
Yeah,
Okay.
and on the bottom it says January 21st, right?
Yes.
That is
The most
the
recent.
most current version. That is the version, and I have all the changes that you've submitted previously and recently, okay? I have your September 2020 version, and I have your January 2022 printed out here, and I have Lemaster's January 2022. So if the...
And that's in here? Those are in here?
That is today's work session packet.
All right,
So,
I still want to say,
yeah,
this is what we're going by. Some of us went all the way through it, like myself. So, we want this side by side to make sure we all agree on the edits. So that, because the chapters that we did the edits on we may not all agree as a commission. So we need to be able to submit that whatever we're going to call it. Right now, it's the City of Seward Downtown Historic District Design Standards and Guidelines. Finally, we want the final version to be approved by the entire commission.
Can I suggest we change the title to strike downtown and say historic business
Absolutely.
district? Or no?
Not, oh, yes. Yes, I see what you're saying.
I mean, if
That's
that's the wish.
step
Yes,
one.
no, that's, you're right.
The commission. Do you
Thank
want
you, Madam Clerk. Yes, we do. The Historic
business?
Business District. Thank you. Starting with title page. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Well, you just did the resolution, so.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. H, E, D. Okay. And an addendum to, we like that. And we like the date, of course. Okay. So, credits. All right, now why are we crediting people, I mean, Iris can stay, but Fred did not, Wolfgang,
They
Commissioner.
were all in the commission when we started this.
No, they weren't. No,
Michelle Cobble was. Iris was.
what we were doing,
Wolfgang was. Those were all on the commission that started this, because I was on that's when I first started the commission.
I guess the question is, did any of the people, do all the people on here actually do any work on this document?
no,
I don't think so.
Participate in
It's like,
discussing things that went.
yeah, but the point being is that they were part of the commission. It's like when you look at this, you put the commission that charged the committee with developing this. I suspect that certain people wrote that 2017 plan, but that doesn't mean they weren't charged by the commission to do it, much less somebody else. So I believe the commission that charged Iris, Tanguy Lebrecq, and myself should be considered on the title page,
all right.
whether they worked on this document or not.
I disagree with Commissioner Ward in that I believe people that actually played a part in the editing of this document be listed. Iris Darling, Cheryl C., Sue Ward, Tanguy Lebrecq, Mary Ann Benoit, Donna Walker, Art LeMaster, striking Wolfgang Kurtz, Fred Wilkers, and I don't believe we started editing this with Commissioner Furlong.
We did. If anybody who was, when did I come on the commission? Because this happened the first year I was on the commission, so
Yes,
anybody
when Iris
after
was
me.
still here.
When anybody, Michelle Cobble was on the commission. Whether they actually, see, I totally disagree. Whether they actually worked on the document, they commissioned the document. I volunteered as a subcommittee of the commission.
But it's credits.
That's fine.
For
The
edits.
more people that you give credit to, the more is better, in my opinion.
I believe in accuracy.
So why should you not put people who are on the commission that said, yes, Sue, do this, yes, Iris, do this, why can they not get credit? They supported us.
Because they didn't edit.
So editing is the only reason that you get credit for working on this document?
In that case, there's people on our thank you sign out there
That should not be on it.
didn't do.
They gave money.
I guess I'd rather be more inclusive.
Right, that's
than
my
less.
feeling.
You know,
And the original Historic Preservation Commission that chartered this project, I think is very worthy of credit.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's fine with it.
I think Cobble quit before we got there, but.
Well, that I don't know. But I think the original commission who chartered this project,
They didn't charter it, they approved it.
well, whatever word you want to use, But they may not have edited the document, they did not write a word. Iris and I took this on, and we pretty much wrote this single-handedly as a committee of two. Yet I'm happy to give credit to my entire commission who supported me. And I suspect Iris would too. And I think the longer list of names that you have for people that are interested in history is always a good thing. But we can put it to a vote.
No, we're in a work session.
No work session vote.
So we'll just note it, come back around to it, maybe at a later date. But then if that, Jim Burton didn't have anything.
No, but he was on the commission.
If there are any additional names, and if it is the wishes of the body, I will be happy to go back to a date and review and make sure I'm not missing any of
Right.
those names too. But it's up to, yeah.
I'm fine with leaving.
Well, let's move on. So what's next?
Should we put planning and zoning commission members on here?
No,
I would say, I agree with that. I mean, they haven't really done anything to assist on this, have they?
No. I did a presentation for them.
So I don't understand why, well, never mind, because we're gonna come back to it, okay.
And the other
And
reason,
then the overlay committee, that's accurate, correct?
that was the original committee.
Okay. So
And,
yes, definite, I guess, for the former historic preservation commissioners and citizen Linda Lasota, so for this, if we're going to do that, then you have to have the entire selection of people that worked on the Seward preservation, 217 preservation plan.
That is why-
All those people.
that is why I included those people, because this was,
You have Linda Lasota.
yeah, Linda, but I didn't know who else was on it. Who else was on the historic,
Well, it's-
who developed this?
It's
should
in
be on the
here,
front
it's in
page.
here.
Right, who developed it? Because chapter 8
Yes,
is what
right, the addendum.
did this. These guidelines are a follow-up to the 2017 plan.
I think on the first page or two, it has all the people.
Yeah.
It
So-
does.
So I would suspect that, again, I'm a big believer in teamwork and giving everybody as much credit as possible.
Not if they did
And-
the work.
See, I don't worry about that, because if we want to list out who did most of the work, then put my
I'm
name
not
at
talking about most.
put my
I'm
team,
talking about any.
put my name at the top of the list, I should get extra credit. Because
And
I'm the only one that's left.
Iris. And
No,
you.
she's
And
gone.
Chuck. No.
She hasn't worked on this.
She and you were the ones that got this off the Juno website with their permission and submitted it, and we approved it.
Right.
But as far as the
And for the
editing process, she is on it, you are on it,
For the last 2 years, she hasn't been on it, and I have.
but initially, she and you.
So I think anybody who works on anything that has generated this document needs to be credited. They all have,
Works on. That's where I'm hung up.
Yeah.
All these people did not work on this.
But Linda
document.
Lasota-
When they come back to do, okay, well, why did this commissioner do that, or why did this commission do that? These people aren't, the people that do the editing should be listed here under credits.
but that is not the only thing that happens on this document. You're only listing one item of all the things that happened on this document. And the reason that we are here on this one thing. So I look at people like Fred Wokers, I look at John French, Laura, I don't even know who these people are, but they developed this document from which this document came from.
Well, that's true, but
That's the
now it's
history
our
of this
commission.
document. That's the history. Just because you edit it isn't the only work that's been done on this document and why this document is in place.
The people that did this are listed so that any future commissioner or commissioner can go to one of them and ask questions about why you did this.
That's right.
People can't go
And we
to Sheriff
took-
Furlong or Fred Wolfers or, Commissioner Kurtz and say, well,
We
why
took
did you do
their
this?
work and we've extrapolated it. What we've talked about is that this is an update of this plan. So I have no problem listing the huge group of historic preservationists in this town.
You're gonna miss people, for one, doing it this way.
Well,
And you're giving credit to people who have not done any of the work.
I don't know that they haven't done any of it. I know that these people did work to get this, and if you look at chapter 8, this is why this happened.
But it's a reference to here, it's an addendum to chapter 8, and their names are all listed here. Okay, let's move on beyond this page, we'll come back to it. If you all agree, I think for today, nothing's final on this page 3. We will come back to that and move forward.
Fine.
Commissioner Ward, if you don't like that.
No, I'm fine with it.
Okay.
It's just, in my opinion,
So-
how you build teamwork is to build your team.
Okay, so we're gonna stay on the topic, all right.
That's all right, no, that's all I'm gonna say.
Okay. Page 4, table of contents. I noticed that each of the sections where we go into what it is we're going to talk about works as titles. So table of contents can be, for instance, on page 5, introduction. So table of contents, 1, introduction. If we go into, okay, where was
Madam
I?
Chair.
Chapter 2,
That will be like sort of the last thing that we develop.
Yeah.
Because the body of the work has to be settled before you.
Before you
spend
decide a
time.
table of
You're
contents.
gonna just spend time
Yeah.
that you're gonna have to redo later.
Besides, whoever
Rather use your
edits,
time here for,
whoever edits this document, the professional who takes this
Yeah.
on,
because
they will
we
do
won't
that.
have final page numbers, final.
I'm not worried
titles.
about trying to do page numbers. All I'm talking about is taking introduction on page 5 and making that the first thing under table of contents. And chapter 2, the section is history and character of Seward's Downtown Historic District. That's,
Those
so that
might
would be
change.
chapter, so that would go down to 2. Why? They're perfect descriptions of what they are, so why can't it be in the title? And then when you whip over to that, that's what it says.
We're editing the document right now. Things might change. Why spend time on something that may ultimately change? What she's saying is do it at the end.
Can we,
Commissioner Benoit?
I just want to clarify something. In my head, I feel like the reason we are doing this is going to go to a professional to do the document. But to me, it seems like our part that's important is the meat and the meaning, because nobody else can do that part, only us. All the little wordsmithing, table of contents, all that stuff, somebody else can do.
Do that.
We need to think about, what do we want the introduction to really say about what this document's for, things like that.
So
Whether it should be guidelines or standards and all that kind of stuff, like, we're getting ourselves so far into the weeds of things, it's not important.
okay, so for clarification, once we've gone through and we've done the things that you're suggesting, that you're saying is the priority, that Madam Clerk is saying is priority, that Commissioner Ward is saying the priority, are we then allowed to come up with the titles and the table of contents, or are you telling me that we're going to leave that to an editor?
I would say that we should leave it to an editor unless we see something specific in here that doesn't look like a good title. Otherwise, I would just leave it.
Let me comment here.
Please, Commissioner
Yeah,
Lemaster.
This is draft number 1. And I can see easily a year from now, we'll be up to draft number 8. Right?
No, not a year from now, please.
Well,
Okay.
but I guess the point is that there's so much duplication and overlap in this. You know, it's kind of like that section may go away because all that content is repeated here and here and here and here and here. It's just, there's so much duplication in
Yes.
this. It's kind of like, so I would suggest the table of contents is going to change. When we get to draft 5, draft 6,
Oh, based on
Yeah, well,
deciding that we don't need this.
yeah, because I think whole sections may be consolidated or go away.
Okay, so one thing that I noticed when I was going through the whole thing again, because I was, and Commissioner LeBrecq, discussed that there are a lot of duplications and repeats. And then, when I went through the whole thing again, the first one was historic construction or something, and then, or reconstruct, whatever, reconstruction and then construction. So, they're pretty much the same thing that's defined in here. So,
Yeah, I think things are gonna change a lot, and then plus, after a professional gets, I'm sure we'll get a chance to review, and that's also a place that you can make changes like that. When it's all kind of polished up.
okay, suited, all right. So, you want to begin on page 5, and Commissioner Ward?
Okay, I apologize, I don't have a computer with Windows on it. So I've had to do this the old-fashioned way. And also, one of the things about the introduction, as I went through it, there's some things that have to be decided.
Okay, can you just take us through
Yeah,
what you've done?
this is my preface. So, first thing that I did, if you want me to go through it chapter by chapter, I can do that.
But, so, you didn't do 1, 2, and 3, so we're just gonna go through.
I did do 1, 2, and 3, I'm
Oh, you
just
did?
doing the introduction.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
So introduction I left, I mean, I don't know how specifically you want this edited. I took words out. If you go through the first sentence, I can read it to you. Seward has a vibrant history that spans several generations and is reflected in the many historic structures throughout the community. I took that survived out.
Okay. So that survived, right?
Right.
Okay.
The Downtown Historic District, and these are where we probably need to change names, in the heart of Seward has a diverse range of older buildings that provide visual interest to residents and visitors, period.
Okay,
The downtown, okay, so what about the downtown historic?
Yeah, that, you know, that is the historic, the HBD. So I have, because we just voted that, I didn't change any of that.
So this should be,
The HBD.
should it be the historic business district?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so provide visual interest to residents and visitors. They stand as symbols of the community's role in the development of South Central Alaska.
so this is a new sentence, right? They
So,
stand,
and visitors, period, they stand as symbols of the community role in the development of South Central Alaska. This includes the First Bank located in Brown and Hawkins, and the Cable House, which significantly reduced, and it says First Bank in the state, and I'm not sure that it was the first bank in the state. So I took in the state out. The First Bank located in Brown and Hawkins. I know it was the first bank in Seward. I don't know if it was the first bank in the state.
okay?
I don't know if that's accurate.
I think we actually say that on the sign,
Right.
pretty sure.
That was something I wasn't sure of. It says the Cable House was,
Did anybody research that then, if it's on the site?
it's on Brown and Hawkins' sign.
Okay, then we should be able to save it, right? Do you think so?
I don't know. I took it out because I didn't know.
I know, but if it's on the sign, then you're saying Brown and Hawkins, then,
The information is on the sign. Whether it was the first bank in the state, I can't tell you.
that's what I thought Commissioner Benoit was saying was on the sign.
I think it is, but I don't.
This information, yeah, I don't know if it was the first bank even in Seward. I don't know if the Harrison Bank was the first bank. I don't know.
How about one of the first banks?
One of the first banks, right.
Okay. So we're not taking it out completely, we're just
Just making
one
it
of the
accurate.
first banks in the state, period, or no, located in Brown and Hawkins. I'll let you go, because this is your thing, I'm sorry.
Okay, so, and the Cable House, which would significantly reduce communication times to the lower 48. Seward is also mile 1 of the Iditarod Trail.
Okay. So,
Mile one?
how about
Mile zero.
Mile 0, sorry, good.
Well, you have mile 0. Anyway, so includes one of the first banks in the state located in Brown and Hawkins should be period, and the cable house should stand alone because they're two different things.
Fine. I don't.
So I think we're good on that,
Okay.
aren't we, everybody? Okay?
The importance of the downtown historic area was recognized by the Secretary of the Interior, with several buildings listed on the National Register of Historic Places.
Sounds good. Did you have any change?
Nope. I think it was recognized. I don't think I put is. Do you think that is or was?
Was.
It's already been done, so it was. I
Yeah.
changed that to was.
Perfect.
The city of Seward, wait,
Yep.
with several buildings listed. I'm trying to go back and forth between my corrections and, okay, the city of Seward has bestowed a local historic designation on this part of downtown. And I just let that be a period, and I took out that last part of the sentence, which is important to the community, state, and nation is enjoyed by residents and visitors. I didn't think that was necessary for these guidelines. If anybody else,
Okay, can you read what you just said, please?
so I'll read that whole paragraph
Yes.
again. The importance of the downtown historic area was recognized by the Secretary of the Interior, with several buildings being listed on the National Register of Historic Places. The city of Seward has also bestowed a local historic designation on this part of downtown.
As also, I'm adding, okay?
And then I took the next paragraph and I took out which was important, I took that sentence out, and the paragraph below, I moved up to that paragraph. Preserving the integrity
Okay,
of...
so, I'm
let me
sorry,
just-
okay, so you're saying
Can I
downtown period, and then you go, which is important to the community?
take that out?
Okay, that whole thing, all right,
If you let me finish, then I'll read the whole sentence back, so it'll be clear.
okay.
Preserving the integrity of downtown historic district is a high priority for the community because it saves Seward's heritage, enhances quality of life, and supports economic development. So that entire paragraph would start, the importance of this downtown historic area was recognized by the Secretary of the Interior, with several buildings being listed on the National Register of Historic Places. The city of Seward has also bestowed a local historic designation on this part of downtown. Preserving the integrity of the downtown historic district is a high priority for the community because it saves Seward's heritage, enhances quality of life, and supports economic development. So that's a single paragraph.
I like it, I like it.
And the only other thing I'm going to say for these edits is, please change downtown historic district to whatever the appropriate designation is supposed to be.
Right, I will. I just wanted to, as we go through this, there may be some cases where you want to refer to the downtown historic
Right.
district, but I'll do a blanket change.
Right. I just, because that was not something that I edited for.
Yeah, that's
I
fine.
think it's okay though, Sue.
That's fine.
Yeah, no, that's right, I'm
How
just,
you've left the importance of the downtown historic area, I think that's good.
This-
Commissioner Benoit?
Yeah, the part that we're taking out here is basically saying that it's important to the community, the state, the nation, and enjoyment of residents and visitors. So what you put in, the next part, actually kind of brings back in that it's important to the
right,
community.
I thought that was a duplication, so to clean it up, I took one
So,
out.
my point is, what I'm trying to get at is if you're gonna take out the rest of it, let's think about it before we do that. This first part said that this is important to the state and the nation. My guess is, it's probably important to the state. I don't know if it's important to the nation. But if it isn't, let me just finish. If it's important to the state, do we really want to take that out? And then, also, I think it's important to, this part about being enjoyed by residents and visitors alike, although it's kind of addressed with supports economic development, and we've been talking about the importance of heritage, tourism, etc. in our resolution. So I kind of feel like some of those things are important to keep in there, maybe not all of it. But
Well,
What?
the main reason that I took it out was because we talked about Seward's heritage and quality of life and supports economic development, and that seemed a bit redundant.
supporting
It just says the same thing in a different way.
except this part, well, maybe, and the part about being important to the state and the nation, that's a pretty big statement that we're taking out.
How about,
Do you
okay,
think
so
it
then-
is important to the state and the nation, or downtown? Or
It is.
historic district?
But do we cover that somewhere else?
Like, I can see to the state.
It is important
I
to the
guess
nation.
when
We
you
are
think
named
about it,
after
yeah,
Secretary
yeah,
Seward,
exactly.
Lincoln's cabinet secretary of the nation. So it is.
Well, in my mind, it's important to the community and the state.
Can we put that though after, because she's taken that out there, and it reads really smooth, downtown, preserving the integrity of the downtown historic district for community development, and then say, and is important to the nation and state.
I'm just tempted to just leave that sentence in.
Guys, there's,
Okay.
I'll bet you most of the folks, people in Lower 48 don't know where Seward, Alaska is.
I would imagine.
They don't
But
know
that
where-
doesn't take away the fact that we are named after Secretary Seward. We are named after the Secretary of State,
Yeah.
Seward, in Lincoln's cabinet.
Oh, there's a Seward, Nebraska too.
It's not,
There's a Seward Peninsula in Alaska.
Secretary Seward had nothing to do with North Dakota. He did here, he was the negotiator with Russia to buy the state of Alaska. And our town is named after him. To me, that's significant.
Well, I like what you said, but, because it's a fact, right, it's a fact. But it's not important to the folks in Lower 48 today.
But the lower 48, we have a lot of visitors from.
Well,
And this
this is not targeted to visitors. This is targeted to business owners and property owners and Seward residents.
But we also want the business owners to recognize that it's important.
I suggest that, I'd like to leave this in here because I think stating that thing about the importance, I think it is important. And I also think that having something like that in our document is also important, like when you're going out and trying to get grant money and things like that. If those are some of the questions I think they ask is like, is your property or what you're doing important to the community, the state, the nation, blah, blah, blah. So having
so-
something like this in here, I think could tie to that.
Okay, so can we have a compromise perhaps? Downtown, which is important to the community, the state, and the nation, period, because we're not the Chamber of Commerce. We're not selling the tourism. Preserving the integrity of the downtown historic district is a high priority for the community because it saves. Commissioner Ward, I'd like to have your input on this because
Oh, no, the point being is that I'm happy with whatever the commission decides. I made a decision when you asked me to edit this. I made a decision if the commission would like to alter that. I have no personal preference. That's why I'm fine
okay.
however we
so-
decide to do it.
All right, so Commissioner Lemaster and Commissioner Benoit, is it okay that the second sentence, the city of Seward has bestowed a local historic district designation on this part of downtown, period, which is also important to the community, the state, and the nation, period, and then bring up Commissioner Ward's next paragraph, completely wiping out, and is enjoyed by residents and visitors throughout the year, because we're not the Chamber of Commerce selling tourism.
Right.
Preserving the integrity of the downtown historic district is a high priority for the community because it saves a key part of Seward's heritage, enhances quality of life, and supports economic development. So I understand why Commissioner Ward took out that sentence, because maybe
I just didn't think it
does
flowed
sound-
well.
Yeah, it doesn't. So, I agree. Downtown, preserving the integrity of the downtown historic district is a high priority for the community. Perhaps there we put community,
state, and nation, because it saves a key part of Seward's heritage. That would make more sense than having this entire sentence saved and then going into somewhat of a repeat of that.
Well, that's what I thought. That was my,
So would it be okay, Commissioner Benoit, to go wipe out, which is important too, and go bring up her next paragraph, preserving the integrity of the downtown historic district is a high priority for the community, state, and nation, because it saves a key part of Seward's heritage, enhances quality of life, and supports economic development.
How about this? Wipe that part out so it says enjoyed by residents and visitors throughout the year like you were suggesting, but in the second paragraph, you could say, let's see, blah, 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 enhances quality of life and supports economic development and heritage tourism.
Okay, where are you?
I'm saying the first paragraph where you were recommending
there's,
deleting enjoyed by residents and visitors throughout the year, I'm saying yes. And then the second paragraph, or the next paragraph that you were saying you were going to add right after that, preserving the integrity of downtown historic district, blah, 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 blah. The last part of it says enhances quality of life and supports economic development and heritage tourism. I'm just suggesting adding and heritage tourism.
too many heritages in that sentence. That always bothers me when you have, use the same word a lot.
Supporting economic development and, okay, so we need to find a compromise here.
Or we can just leave it off. To me, it just seems like the heritage tourism part is kind of important, and it should be in this document someplace.
I'm sure it is.
Could change the first heritage to history, Seward's history.
Yeah.
And supports economic development through, can I suggest through heritage tourism? Is that
Okay, so-
a
Yeah.
connection?
That's
Where,
good.
okay, where are you, Madam Clerk?
It was in the paragraph that said preserving the integrity, that's where Benoit was.
Okay, so,
So it saves Seward's history, enhances quality of life, supports economic development through heritage tourism.
Yeah, that's excellent.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
and supports is where we're gonna go
Just,
heritage?
I'm just thinking about like
Isn't that the basis for your
economic development. I mean, heritage tourism brings people into town, and it's
We-
part of
we know.
it's part of economic development. I'm just trying to think if there's any other way that this contributes to economic
yeah.
development besides tourism.
Yeah.
Because, like, for example, I love to go into Resurrect Art Coffee House. It's one of my favorite places. I'm a local. I go in there all the time because I love that historical building.
Okay, how
And
about,
so it's not, I'm not a tourist. It's
Okay,
related
so-
to economic development
okay,
because of history, but it's
all
not
right,
because
so
of
then
tourism.
after, why don't we add your thing about heritage tourism after enhances quality of life and supports economic development?
And heritage tourism.
All right, and is that a separate sentence, or is that a?
No, I would just say and instead of through, because
Yeah,
through
yeah,
implies
I
it's
gotcha.
only
Yep,
like that.
I got it. And.
Sorry to be so
So read
picky,
it,
but
can you read it,
they mean
please?
something different.
Yeah, it's
No,
good.
somebody needs to read this, please.
Read from the whole paragraph. I got lost in the
Yeah,
Okay,
complication,
so
so.
preserving the integrity of.
So I'd read the whole paragraph again.
yes, the ones, because we're combining these two paragraphs.
Mm-hmm.
So Commissioner Benoit?
Are you saying?
The importance of this downtown, start there, and read it all the way to the end of the paragraph.
The importance of the downtown historic area was recognized by the Secretary of the Interior with several buildings listed on the National Register of Historic Places. The city of Seward has also bestowed a local historic district designation on this part of downtown.
Period.
let's see, on this part of downtown, comma, which is important to the community, the state, and the nation, period. Preserving the integrity of the downtown historic district is a high priority for the community because it saves a key part of Seward's heritage, comma, enhances quality of life, and supports economic development and heritage tourism.
Okay, so you didn't say a key part of Seward's, you said heritage, but we actually changed that to history.
History, sorry about that.
It's okay, and I also have an addition. So where you go, the Secretary of the Interior should be Seward. The Secretary, okay, how do we say that? So you're giving credit to Secretary Seward, who actually...
No, that has not to do with Seward.
Okay, so it's modern, in other words.
Right, well,
Okay.
I don't know when they put in their application, but it was whoever was Secretary of the Interior when...
At that time?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I understand. So...
Okay, are we ready to go on?
Enhances heritage, okay. Yes.
Okay, so the next statement I thought was real important. I've made some changes, but basically this is a statement that says what this is. So this may need some work. It says, this document presents design guidelines for the City of Seward's downtown historic district as a means of protecting resources and promoting compatible new construction. These guidelines offer criteria for determining, and I don't know about this word, appropriateness of improvements. What is this document statement that I think needs to be cleaned up and stronger?
Yeah, that's not.
How about these guidelines offer criteria for determining improvements?
Well, I think it's a little bit more than just determining improvement. I think it's protecting historic buildings or resources. I mean, that's what the guidelines are for.
Well, I know that's what you said above it.
Right.
Right?
Right.
This document presents design guidelines for the City of Seward downtown
Whatever,
historic
HBC.
business district as a means of protecting historic resources and promoting compatible new construction.
Period, period.
Reconstruction? Period after construction?
Does
I'm
that
sorry.
even need to be there?
Well, there's two, I mean, the building, the design guidelines address two things. They address, if you're going, let's say you have a vacant lot, there's a couple of them down there, the arcade building is one. What you're gonna put on that lot from scratch,
So new construction?
new construction, and then what if,
Reconstruction.
yeah, what if Urbox wants to go back to what it looked like in the 1915s before it burned in 1940? So
so
there's
and reconstruction.
new,
Yeah.
there's reconstruction, and then there's improvement. So you want to change out the windows on the Emerald building. So there's more than just new construction or
Okay, so
reconstruction.
now what did you just say, though, the third thing?
Was
Construction, reconstruction, and
improvements.
improvements, okay.
Oh.
That's good.
You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah. I think
this is
it's
what this document does, so I didn't think that was a strong enough statement.
Protecting.
Okay, so now let's see here.
Providing
Guidelines
guidelines
for historic resources.
I have a recommendation. This document presents design guidelines for the City of Seward's downtown historic district or
Business
blah, blah,
district.
to protect and maintain historic resources and promote compatible new construction. These guidelines offer, I was gonna say guidance. And so,
Okay, but you're completely dropping off Commissioner Ward's point. It's not new construction, it's also reconstruction, and it's also improvements.
Additions.
If you have a historic window and it's leaking all the time, and so you need a new window, we want that owner to be able to
Okay.
put in a new window, but we would like it to be hung,
yeah,
right,
fine.
in the description.
Well-
Yeah, so that's right, is this what
Yeah,
you're saying?
exactly,
Could it
or,
be protecting and improving his
yeah.
resources?
The problem with the guidelines is, the guidelines, because I know what's in there, if you're gonna have change out a window, you'll find that most historic windows are horizontal, or vertical, very few are horizontal. And so somebody might want to, if they have to take out a window, they may want to put in a more historic-looking window and maybe put in something vertical. It doesn't have to be historic materials.
Exactly.
It just has to look historic.
Exactly.
So that's what the guidelines do. So let's say you want to replace your window, but you may take out more and do a more historic look. You would have that option, and the guidelines would tell you how to do that.
So, okay, coming back to what you're
So-
including, because this is the introduction.
Yeah, well, this is the statement of what this
Yes, and
is.
it defines what's going to be in the rest of this document.
Right.
So.
Not everything,
I-
but it needs to be a strong statement, I think, about how you're going to utilize these.
Okay, so this document presents design guidelines for the City of Seward Downtown Historic Business District as a means of protecting historic resources and promoting compatible new construction, reconstruction, and improvements within their context. These guidelines offer criteria for determining
Appropriate is an odd word, a better word.
Determining, how about determining these improvements? Because in the sentence above, we've said new construction or reconstruction improvements.
Or, yeah, maybe that, I don't know. Yeah,
Determining these improvements.
How about this document presents design guidelines for the City of Seward's Historic Business District.
Okay, so taking downtown out?
I guess we're doing that over
Yeah,
there?
that's what that's a
Okay.
blanket change, yeah.
All right.
Okay.
You don't have to keep pointing it out, I'll take care of it.
Okay, so
Thank you, Clerk Blue.
and then the other thing that I have a note here, and I wasn't really sure,
But I wasn't finished.
oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry, I thought you were.
This document presents design guidelines for the City of Seward's Historic Business District to protect and maintain historic resources and promote compatible new construction, reconstruction, and improvements.
so you're removing as a means of and changing, adding the word to?
Protect, maintain, or improve.
She wants to get improvement in there.
What I was trying to do was make it not passive language, but
Yeah.
I was trying to say, let's see, the document presents design guidelines for the City of Seward's Historic Business District to protect and maintain historic resources and promote compatible new construction, reconstruction, and improvements. The guidelines, these guidelines offer recommendations for maintenance and improvements. Because a lot of times people are trying to maintain their historic buildings too, so.
The language that is used later here is preserve, repair, replace.
Okay, where are you?
I'm just trying to be,
No, I understand that, but just
Just
tell
that-
us where you're at.
well, I had to go back and find the language because it's throughout the document. But these people that do this stuff, they can terms of preserve, repair, replace, and new construction.
Yeah, I agree.
But
I
those,
see where you're going.
Okay, so where are you guys putting this?
We're still looking
We're
at
at
this.
this document presents design guidelines as an introduction, so how do you want this to read?
But that's the purpose of these guidelines.
I understand that, but we're on this little paragraph here.
Which
This
is-
document presents design guidelines for the City of Seward's Historic Business District. Now, it sounds like you two are talking about as a means of protecting, that's where you want to do this edit. So can you please share with me what you mean? What is the edit?
So maybe it would be better to protect historic resources and promote compatible new construction and reconstruction. And then you could say these guidelines offer recommendations for
Whatever you said, whatever you
these
said.
these guidelines offer recommendations to preserve, repair, replace, and
Oh, I
maintain
criteria.
historic
Yeah,
buildings.
no, that's
or
fine,
something
though.
like that. Is that what you're getting
Well,
at?
to me, it's preserve, repair, replace, and new construction.
Okay?
Yeah. I agree, to try to be consistent throughout. And by the way,
Preserve,
And I
replace-
suspect if
you
we
know,
get to
wait.
that, we may come back to this and change stuff.
Okay, so now, I just want to get these three words straight. Reserve, replace, and what?
preserve, repair, replace, and
Oh.
new construction.
And so read that,
Yes,
when we get
please.
it, then read that back, whoever's got the best version. Because I think this is a strong statement.
It's important too, because it's in the introduction.
Okay, how about this? This document presents design guidelines for the City of Seward's Historic Business District to protect historic resources and promote compatible new construction and reconstruction. These guidelines offer...
Now wait, now wait. No, wait. Let's stick in the order that Commissioner Lemaster said.
But
Preserve,
that part
repair,
I haven't
replace.
gotten to yet.
Okay, but why wouldn't it be right in there if you're doing compatible new construction?
You asked me to read the last thing, and so I was trying to read you what I was recommending, and I didn't put
Okay.
his part until the end. So, what I was suggesting was this document presents design guidelines for the City of Seward's Historic Business District to protect historic resources and promote compatible new construction and reconstruction. These guidelines offer recommendations for preserving, repairing, replacing,
Either you get
And
rid
new
of
construction,
compatible new
but there's something
construction
has
above
to
and
be.
bring it down into where you're doing the repair, preserve, repair, and replace. And within their context, I believe is important.
Replacing historic,
for preserving, repairing, and replacing historic buildings and
Historic
new
buildings.
construction. Yeah. By the way, it's beyond 20 hours.
Okay, great. We are going to adjourn this meeting at 3:45.
There we go.
Adjourned.